Of course, if you the more opportunities you get, the more excitement is also connected to it. So if you can choose what you want to do, it's always always nice.
Raimund, nice to have you here.
Jonathan, thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you for the trust you put in the project and for all the beautiful work we did together over the last years. May you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Raimund, one of the organizers of Stadt Nach Acht. That's one of my passions. The other project I'm into is Sonar, Safer Nightlife, where we organize scholarship programs for staff of clubs and festivals to train them into drug information and knowledge about substances and their interaction with the body and other substances. So this is my two passions I have.
It's already a lot because I know how big it is. How long have you been in the scene and when did you start this project?
Oh, okay. That's two different questions. I've been into the scene since the beginning of the 0 years, so more than 20 years now. And after a long path with a lot of different activities inside the scene, I started Stadt Nach Acht in 2016 and the Sonar project in 2018, which has a 2 years before, in 2013 and 14, we developed the scholarship program for Sonar already. Then there was a gap, and 2018 we started with Sonar. Yeah, so a couple of years already.
Nice. And how did Stadt Nach Acht start? What was the idea and what was the path that you did until now?
Yeah, together with my colleague Marc, we were in a club commission. I was head of office of club commission during that time. And so we always wanted to invite people and talk about our subjects with people from different perspectives and disciplines. But we never had really the chance to do that because you need some money for that. And in 2016, we got first time the opportunity to realize this kind of conference on a little bit smaller scale than we do it now. But we got funding from City Tax, which is a kind of tourist tax in Berlin. And in 2016, they collected it for the first time. And Senate didn't have too much experience with that. And so they kind of asked cultural institutions and players in the city kind of to think about projects. And so we got some money and we thought, okay, now we have the chance to do a small conference about all our topics, invite all the people we wanted to have the perspectives from. And that was a very successful idea. So we did it the next year again in 2017 and then decided to do it every 2 years in Berlin on a bigger scale, on an international scale. And now in between the 2 years we do in Berlin, we are looking into the scenes of other cities, smaller cities, regional ones, but also cooperations on an international level.
That sounds great. And what kind of themes do you talk about during this conference?
We do have kind of 4 or 5 general pillars of topics and themes. So we're talking about cultural aspects of nightlife. We're talking about city development, also all the aspects, infrastructure of the night. We're talking about economics, of course, nighttime economy. And we're talking also about health and safety and security issues, all combined or always with a political and also an administrative eye also on it. So this is kind of the basic framework, and then we do have a lot of topics in between those general aspects, and we see that we get experts from various sides to have an interdisciplinary approach to those topic solutions and ideas, also best practice.
What did you do to bring all these great names from all around the world to Berlin to talk about all this?
I mean, first, if you are 20 years into the scene, you get a certain network already. So, but Stadt Nach Acht is definitely also a network driven conference. So we invite a lot of curators from various fields. So they are experts in economics, they're experts in city development, they're expert in this or that field. And we give them the opportunity to think about aspects which are contemporary hot or on the long term very important, and so they can make suggestions. And so we kind of like cluster the whole thing together in between 6, 7, 8 people, and balancing it out in a way that we think, okay, this makes sense in general in the whole, but leave all the curators and experts enough air to breathe and to fill the panels with their ideas, their networks, their experts. And so that makes it a conference with a certain depth, because I would not be able to curate all these things by myself, because I don't have this big network, I don't have the knowledge, I don't know. But if you invite a group of people to do it together, it becomes a certain dynamic.
You inspired me a lot for this project, actually.
I didn't know that.
You did more than you know. So
right.
Thank you. What was the highlight of this year's conference?
It's always difficult to highlight certain aspects because you're not highlighting other aspects. Then, in fairness aspects, I have to say that the conference in general, the mood and the kind of smiles of the people and all that good experience, that was the very first highlight for me. That we make people go home and have a lot of ideas, new contacts, and inspiration in their backpack. But for me, one of the highlights was the Friday evening, the soirée, where we had a movie screening from a Spanish filmmaker living in London about gender identities, sexuality, and also drug, and also the problems of it. Filmed in Berlin, so extremely international project. That was a great opportunity to show this kind of film, a very independent production, again, not TV format or kind of no filter between, just from the scene for the scene. This kind of things I like very much.
Yeah, and that's the whole spirit of the conference, I would say, because that's something I saw over the last years. Like, since I'm working with you, is like the great amount of different panels where you just don't know where to go and to sit to listen and to get inspired by. That's actually...
Yeah, that's the idea of Stadt Nach Acht, overwhelming people, kind of not knowing where to go first.
You're very good at it.
Yeah. No, it's also it's a kind of festival idea in the background, where you have 7, 8, 9, 10 stages, and you could have so much good experience, and it is not depending on if you're sitting in that panel or that panel. And it's always kind of like, you miss more than you can catch, which is always a good idea to come back next time and catch some more.
Yeah, it's working. It's working. What do you have for next year?
Next year is not the Berlin production year. It is so we are going to Augsburg next year with the Stadt Nach Acht, with a regional conference, smaller scale, but we are very looking forward to it because there's a very good support we are getting already from Augsburg for Stadt Nach Acht. They do want us more than I could imagine before. So everyone is very excited about Stadt Nach Acht coming to Augsburg. We've been there already, talking to people, looking at venues, speaking to city administratives, and we feel that there would be there's a big support for the thing. And so we are looking very forward to the Augsburg edition next year. Also, we are involved into a partnership with the Vienna Clubcommission, and we are also in Vienna next year, kind of a couple of weeks later. But this is not a Stadt Nach Acht production-wise. This is only that we are giving input from Stadt Nach Acht into the program, so we are curating a part of it, together with our friends and partners of NewNet and VibeLab.
How did you decide? How do you decide where you want to go? Like, last year we went to Dortmund for the first German edition. Next year Augsburg.
Yeah, it is not that kind of we have 10 possibilities and decide which we would do first. So Dortmund was kind of, there was no other idea than Dortmund, or there was no other request than Dortmund. That was only the idea of kind of like, are we able to do it in Dortmund? Is there enough support? Is there enough money? Is there enough space and time? And so we find, yes, Dortmund is looking good. And so we decided to do it in Dortmund. But now we're getting in trouble, a little bit more in trouble in the future, because there's a lot of cities asking us, Stadt Nach Acht, already for support. And can we come to Tallinn? Can we come to Leipzig? Can we come to different cities in Europe and also Germany? So maybe this kind of thing is like how we decide it in future is a question we have to answer in the future more than we have it now.
How do you feel about that? Yet?
Of course, if you the more opportunities you get, the more excitement is also connected to it. So if you can choose what you want to do, it's always always nice. But also you have to say no to someone else. That's also kind of the sad side of the story then. But I'm looking forward to the development we are going with Stadt Nach Acht also in terms of like the second cities, like not the big cities in Germany, but also the international cooperation. So that gives a good balance between looking into the details and involving an international network into the whole thing. We're getting also involved.
And where would you like to go next?
Tallinn would be nice, but also I would love to do something in Tbilisi. There's a lot of cities in the world I can imagine where I would be very interested in doing something like Stadt Nach Acht.
Do you have the time to organize all this? How does your year look like? Because like when we work together, it's only for a few weeks. So I know only that part and then the production. But what does the rest of the year look like?
The kind of like, okay, we are at the end of the Stadt Nach Acht production in Berlin now. So that means that there's a post-production period until the end of the year, more or less, but with reduced hours than before, of course. But we have to sort out all things, invoices, the financial things in most cases, but also kind of like to see what is the learning of Stadt Nach Acht 2023 for the team, perspectives for next year and future, the future of the project. And then in January, I personally would like to have a break of kind of 4 weeks, because it's the only time when I can do a break. It's not possible to have holidays in the production year of Berlin. So January for me is kind of the time off. And then in February, we start making plans for Augsburg, and parallel we organize Vienna, but it's a soft beginning. Usually we're starting then in April, May with a kind of like main organizational processes.
And Sonar next to that, how time consuming is this project?
Luckily it is not too time consuming. Because this project has been running now for 5 years already and has an established routines and a team which is kind of working together and that definitely knows how to work together. It is not that big development inside this project, because we get always a certain amount of money and we can organize a certain amount of things with it. We find a lot of formats already. So it is a lot to organize, but it's not something very new. So it is don't need too much time to think about how you do it, because you know already how to do it. So this is a good thing about that project. But the better thing is that we get additional funding next year. So our project will grow. That means kind of for next year, we do have the challenge of thinking about in which direction we would grow, because there's several possibilities, and not all the possibilities will be can be realized, but some of them. And so within the team, we have to decide about kind of which way we want to choose. This is also a nice option, of course, and I'm looking very forward for it.
Sounds good, especially if you're so passionate about your job. What are these projects? Some people of our audience do not know Sonar. How would you describe it?
Sonar is a safer nightlife project. So we are funded by Senate of Health in Berlin. And so we organize scholarships for teams in order to, identify psychoactive substances as they exist. So to decide whether it is cocaine or whether it is G or whatever you find at the door, because all the stuff working in the night is not trained in this thing naturally. So it is always good that those people know about what kind of substances are consumed also in the nightlife and club scene, what kind of infrastructure you can have as a club to support situations which might go into the wrong direction. So this is all we discuss also with clubs, also problems with consumption within teams, because that's also, of course, drug use. And it's also not easy to speak about these things. So we are kind of maybe the platform where these things are possible. On the other hand, we go out to parties, to concerts, to festivals, and support those events with info stands, giving out information material about substances, safer use materials, earplugs, I don't know, a lot of things, party packs, consumption aids, and this kind of thing.
Do you reach out to the clubs, the promoters, and all the different people, or do they come to you?
Yeah, they come to us actually, and there's a lot more coming to us than we could serve. In the beginning, it was different, of course, but that was only kind of the first year or so. Since then, the requests of our services is definitely higher than what we can do, and we try to, spread our services to the whole scene. It's not working again and again and again with always the same clubs, but of course you have clubs who have kind of more requests than others. So it's also quite comfortable that you don't need to actively address clubs and introduce your program, because they all know already and they know what they get.
But how do you work then? Like, do you have like courses online, or like do you make a one-to-one direct talks, like calls with them? How can you like scale like the project, like in order to answer to the demand that you have?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have various tools and formats for various situations. So we have one as a face-to-face scholarship program inside the club within the team of one club, so that everything which stays there stays also in the team and not going outside. And the interventions is of course also physical on the events. We do not have too much online courses. We had some online courses during the pandemic, and we do offer 1 or 2 online courses a year. When we use online resources, we do it via podcast. We are having an own podcast, Nachtschatten, where we have one sequel a month about various topics. We have like 75 sequels already. So that's one of the online sources, and we have also kind of physical events like club talks, which are kind of low-scale talk with people who go out in clubs about their experiences, about their behavior and questions. And also we have like the soiree things, which are more on a networking and networking basis. So we have always an interesting topic, but inviting also people from the Senate, club owners, people from harm reduction initiatives and structures here in Berlin, so that we have a kind of very mixed audience, but more kind of on a higher scale of information and entertainment.
That sounds good. And what are the plans for next year?
Yeah, do the same thing as we do this year. And as I told, with a little bit more money in the pocket next year, we can also expand certain services, and we might also add something because of, for example, the podcast thing changed. We changed because our radio partner is changing, and we haven't negotiated with a new partner all the possibilities we do have next year with them. But we might spend a little bit more money on the production, but also we have bigger opportunities to reach more people and to be present in more platforms than we are now, even if we have the big ones already in the pocket. But if you have like physical radio space, then the strategy might alter about how to address the people and what kind of formats are, or change in the format is necessary to also serve the radio needs.
And how do Stadt Nach Acht and Sonar work together? How do you combine these both aspects, even if they're connected? So,
yeah, because we do have a strong aspect of safer nightlife topics also in Stadt Nach Acht. So for me, it's always both sides are present in Stadt Nach Acht, also Sonar, and we are also international guests we have on Stadt Nach Acht. We bring together with a crew of Sonar so that also the network of Sonar grows with it. It's not only my personal network, but all my colleagues from Sonar and many of the volunteers and many of the staff of Sonar is involved into the Stadt Nach Acht. So they also make contacts. They also get fresh ideas for the project. So I think both sides benefits from this combination.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Raimund. I won't you hold any longer.
Okay.
Thank you for everything, and let's work together in this project.
Thank you for your interest. Yeah, let's do it.